A quiet genetics laboratory changed everything after one routine blood sample revealed unexpected DNA patterns researchers could not immediately explain with confidence. Most people never think about blood beyond hospital visits, medical reports, or donating during emergencies, yet every drop carries an ancient biological story. If your blood type is B negative, you belong to one of Earth's rarest blood groups, shared by only a small percentage globally. For decades, scientists believed blood types mainly existed for safe transfusions, pregnancy care, and understanding inherited traits passed through countless generations. That explanation remains scientifically correct, yet advances in DNA sequencing slowly uncovered deeper genetic patterns hidden behind familiar blood group classifications. Researchers comparing ancient human genomes noticed rare blood groups sometimes appeared alongside uncommon ancestry markers found across surprisingly distant populations. These findings did not rewrite history overnight, but they encouraged scientists to ask careful questions instead of accepting every traditional explanation without further investigation. Imagine opening your medical report without realizing those simple letters quietly connect your body to thousands of years of human migration and survival. Every family carries stories through memories, photographs, and traditions, but DNA preserves another history, recording journeys long before written languages even existed. Archaeologists uncover broken tools, ancient footprints, and forgotten settlements, while genetic researchers search inside living people for equally important evidence about humanity's remarkable past. One surprising discovery often leads toward another, creating a puzzle where every scientific answer raises fresh questions instead of providing complete certainty immediately. Why do certain rare genetic markers appear more frequently inside some isolated communities while remaining almost absent from neighboring populations sharing similar environments? Could ancient migrations, climate changes, and thousands of years of separation quietly shape today's rare blood groups more than historians once believed possible? Scientists remain cautious because rare blood types alone cannot identify ancestry, ancient civilizations, or personal origins without broader genetic evidence supporting those conclusions. Still, every new DNA study adds another carefully tested piece to humanity's enormous historical puzzle, revealing patterns impossible for previous generations to examine. The story becomes even more fascinating when archaeological discoveries, population genetics, and historical migration routes begin supporting each other across completely different scientific fields. Instead of chasing extraordinary myths, researchers focus on measurable evidence, comparing DNA sequences, ancient remains, and living populations through increasingly advanced scientific methods. Their careful work suggests human history may be more interconnected than anyone once imagined, yet many chapters remain incomplete despite remarkable technological progress. Somewhere inside those unanswered questions about B-negative blood, ancient migrations, and hidden DNA markers, another forgotten chapter of our shared human story quietly waits. Long before hospitals existed, small human groups crossed vast grasslands, frozen valleys, dense forests, and harsh deserts, searching for food, safety, and survival. Every journey left more than footprints across ancient landscapes, because families carried inherited DNA that quietly traveled alongside every new generation for thousands of years. As communities settled into different regions, mountains, rivers, and changing climates gradually reduced contact, allowing certain genetic traits to become more common locally. Historians believe repeated migrations from Eurasia, Central Asia, and surrounding regions helped shape the remarkable genetic diversity visible across modern populations today. Archaeologists continue uncovering ancient burials containing bones, tools, pottery, and ornaments that reveal how distant communities lived, traveled, traded, and adapted together. Modern laboratories carefully extract fragments of ancient DNA from those remains, comparing them with living populations, while avoiding conclusions unsupported by reliable scientific evidence. Some ancient individuals carried genetic combinations still found today, while others possessed lineages that slowly disappeared through migration, population decline, or natural genetic change. Researchers noticed that rare blood groups sometimes appeared within populations carrying distinctive ancestry markers, although blood type alone never identified complete family origins. This pattern encouraged scientists to investigate how isolation, marriage within smaller communities, and environmental pressures influenced inherited traits over many generations. In remote mountain villages, island settlements, and isolated valleys, limited population mixing sometimes allowed uncommon genetic characteristics to remain surprisingly stable across centuries. Evidence from ancient migration routes suggests countless groups repeatedly mixed together, meaning every modern population reflects many different ancestral stories instead of one. That complexity explains why genetics rarely offers simple answers, because human history involves continuous movement, cooperation, conflict, adaptation, and unexpected survival against changing environments. One archaeological discovery may reveal forgotten migration pathways, while another, completely different excavation raises fresh questions instead of confirming earlier historical interpretations. Scientists therefore compare evidence from archaeology, linguistics, climate records, and genetics before proposing careful explanations about ancient population movements across continents. When researchers examined populations containing B-negative blood, they discovered remarkable diversity rather than one single shared historical origin or migration route. Some individuals traced significant ancestry toward European regions, while others showed connections reaching deeper into western and central parts of Eurasia through countless generations. These findings reminded researchers that rare blood groups survive because human history remains extraordinarily complex, shaped by thousands of independent family journeys across time. Each ancient skeleton, preserved tooth, and carefully sequenced genome added another small clue, yet the complete picture remained far from fully understood. The greatest mystery was no longer where rare blood groups existed, but which hidden DNA markers scientists kept discovering beside them using modern genetic technology. Modern genetics does not search for mysterious blood alone because scientists study millions of DNA markers spread throughout the entire human genome. Blood type represents only one inherited characteristic, while thousands of other genetic variations reveal ancestry, biological traits, and population history with greater detail. Researchers compare DNA samples from different continents, searching for shared genetic markers that help explain how ancient populations gradually spread across the world. These markers are called genetic variants, tiny differences inside DNA that naturally appear through inheritance, mutation, and thousands of years of human evolution. Scientists found that some rare DNA markers appear more often within certain populations, but none belong exclusively to people carrying B-negative blood. That distinction is important because blood type alone cannot identify someone's ancestry, health, intelligence, personality, or historical origin with scientific certainty. Instead, researchers examined complete genomes, combining blood group information with thousands of additional genetic markers before reaching careful, evidence-based conclusions about population history. One leading theory proposes that founder effects helped preserve uncommon genetic combinations after small communities became geographically separated for many generations. Another well-supported explanation involves genetic drift, where completely random inheritance gradually increases or decreases specific genetic traits inside relatively isolated populations. Neither process requires mysterious events because both naturally occur throughout human history whenever communities remain small or experience limited outside population mixing. Ancient DNA research has strengthened these explanations by comparing genomes recovered from archaeological remains with carefully collected samples from living populations today. Evidence suggests several rare genetic signatures survived because descendants inherited them continuously, while countless other ancient markers gradually disappeared through normal population changes. Researchers also investigate how climate, disease, nutrition, and migration influence survival, understanding that natural selection sometimes shaped inherited traits differently across regions. However, no credible scientific study concludes that B-negative blood itself carries supernatural abilities, hidden powers, or evidence of non-human origins whatsoever. Instead, the real discovery is arguably more fascinating because ordinary human biology preserves remarkable historical information inside every carefully studied genome. Every newly sequenced ancient skeleton expands humanity's family tree, connecting forgotten communities with living descendants through measurable genetic relationships rather than speculation. As technology improves, scientists continue identifying smaller genetic differences previously impossible to detect using older laboratory equipment and analytical methods. Each discovery answers one historical question while revealing several unexpected mysteries, proving humanity's genetic story remains unfinished despite extraordinary scientific progress. The greatest revelation may not be who possesses rare DNA markers, but how every modern person carries fragments of an ancient journey still unfolding. After decades of research, scientists reached one important conclusion. Rare blood types reveal fascinating history, but never define an individual's complete identity. Every person inherits countless genetic variations, making each human genome a unique record shaped through thousands of generations, migrations, and shared survival. B-negative blood remains uncommon worldwide, yet its rarity reflects population history rather than evidence supporting extraordinary origins or forgotten civilizations. Modern genetics teaches humility because every new discovery reminds researchers how much human history still remains hidden beneath incomplete archaeological and historical records. Ancient DNA has connected living families with distant ancestors, revealing migration routes impossible to reconstruct using written documents alone throughout human history. Those discoveries also remind us that humanity has always moved, adapted, exchanged knowledge, and survived together despite enormous geographical distances and changing environments. The rare genetic markers found beside some blood groups become meaningful only when studied alongside complete genomes, archaeological evidence, and carefully documented scientific research. That balanced approach protects science from myths, while allowing genuine discoveries to reshape our understanding whenever reliable evidence becomes available through future investigations. Perhaps the greatest surprise is not hidden inside one rare blood type, but within humanity's extraordinary genetic diversity shared across every continent today. Every child born inherits a biological story stretching back through countless generations whose names disappeared, although their DNA quietly continued traveling forward. When researchers sequence another ancient genome, they are not simply studying bones because they are recovering forgotten chapters of our collective human journey. Some mysteries will eventually receive clear scientific answers, while others may remain uncertain until better technology uncovers evidence hidden beyond today's capabilities. That uncertainty is not a weakness because careful science advances by questioning assumptions, testing evidence, and accepting conclusions only after repeated verification. The story of B-negative blood therefore becomes part of a much larger documentary about migration, adaptation, resilience, and humanity's remarkable interconnected past. Every laboratory result, archaeological excavation, and DNA sequence adds another carefully verified piece to an enormous historical puzzle still missing important sections. Rather than separating people, genetics repeatedly demonstrates that modern populations share deep ancestral connections despite differences in language, appearance, culture, or geography. The rarest discovery may ultimately be recognizing how closely every human family remains connected through an ancient genetic history spanning thousands of years. Our blood remembers survival, our DNA preserves forgotten journeys, and science continues translating those silent records into evidence everyone can carefully examine together. If this documentary changed how you see your own history, subscribe for more evidence-based journeys uncovering humanity's greatest unanswered scientific mysteries.